What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday, August 5th, 2025. It's a Tuesday at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern. So you know what that means? We're live for the Motor Stardom show here, presented by Density Energy Pouches. And boy, it was a long weekend for me and probably many others around the world, and they should be treating themselves to some Density Energy Pouches. Please use code Maggio15, which I still believe is valid. I can get verification here. It's still valid.
That is correct. I was on mute.
He was muted.
Yeah.
We're unmuted, though. Code Maggio15, please. Density Energy Pouches. I keep showing the blueberry ice one. I got to get a different flavor to put up there. But to me, I feel like that'd be – I'm a big blueberry guy, so I feel like blueberry is going to be the one to roll with. I don't know what your favorite flavor would be, but are you blue guy, you red guy?
Shout out blue flavor. Everybody loves. This goes with anything. For whatever reason, the flavor blue just goes hard. I don't know what it is, but that's just the way it goes. But yeah, blueberry ice definitely very good. And then I don't know. I'm a Chaos Cola guy. That's good. Viking Energy's good. It's all about what you like at the end of the day. So Density's got a flavor for you, so be sure to check them out. Like RJ said, use code Maggio15 for 15% off when you check out on Amazon. Go give them a shot today. Try some for yourself. Let us know what you guys think.
Yeah, exactly what Mason Maggio just said. And obviously, it is me and Magoo today. No Stephen Malazzi. A little bit lonely, but it's going to provide us an awesome opportunity to talk about a lot of things that are swirling around the world. We're getting to that time of year where there's just a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of headlines. There's a lot of silly season talk. There's a lot of playoff conversation. There's a lot of exciting things to cover from Iowa and Watkins Glen. I did want to note riff on a few things before we really get started the nitty-gritty NASCAR stuff here. We're talking about flavors. I wanted to present this to the world. I wanted to present this to you. I don't know how you're going to feel about this. This is coming out August 18th. I think this has been put out to the public. I would imagine it's coming out pretty soon. Chick-fil-A sauce flavored waffle potato chips. I know you're a Chick-fil-A enjoyer. And a lot of people know that that's what I also do, in addition to Motor Stardom, to pay my bills. But we got the Chick-fil-A sauce flavored potato chips coming out, man. Are you going to try them?
Well, I mean, now that you put it in front of me, I feel obligated to try it. You know, I love you can't go wrong with Chick-fil-A sauce, man. That I put that stuff on everything. So, but no, I'm a big Chick-fil-A fan, big Chick-fil-A connoisseur. Always got my app ready so I can get some rewards, build up those rewards, baby. So, but this is going down another rabbit hole that I never would have guessed Chick-fil-A would have gone down. But hey, I mean, rather try it than not. But hey, I'll have to give it a try at some point. I can't knock it down until I try it at the end of the day.
Exactly. For our fast food enjoyers out there, Chick-fil-A enjoyers, we got the Pretzel Club sandwich coming out. Pretzel Cheddar Club, August 18th. That's going to be a certified banger, as well as these chips. I tried them today. They taste like, I don't know if you've ever had like barbecue flavored potato chips. For some reason, that's how they taste when, like, I don't know, Lay's has come out with their barbecue flavored chips. That's what this tastes like. Surprisingly.
Huh.
I know there's barbecue sauce in Chick-fil-A sauce. Like, that's one of the ingredients. So maybe that kind of plays a factor into it here. But I got to say, not too bad as a man that never really ate the potato chips at Chick-fil-A, but we've always had. But definitely going to be something worth trying when it comes out on August 18th. Another thing I wanted to note here, we had the MLB Speedway Classic this past weekend, which was rained out in typical NASCAR fashion. Shout out to all the fans that were able to make it back for Sunday. I don't know how much time they officially got in Saturday night. There was a lot of stuff going on Saturday. I wasn't really able to I wasn't going to be able to catch the game in its entirety anyways, and I didn't get to catch it on Sunday. But the whole design looked awesome. I know it's in the video game now as well, MLB The Show. But 91,032 people was the official attendance Saturday. Sucks I didn't get to see a full show. That is literally like NASCAR Daytona 500 101. Like, we sell out the place. Amazing. Celebrities are there. And then we end up racing the next day, and it doesn't even matter. But most attended game in MLB history is taking place at a NASCAR track. You know, Bristol's very historic. A lot of things that happened there dating back, a bunch of years ago. But did you get to see any of the game at all? I don't know if you're an MLB enthusiast at all or baseball enthusiast, but I'm sure you saw some pictures and saw how funny and fun this visual is.
Yeah, no, I mean, I tuned in and out of the game. Obviously, weather was a big factor of it, like you said. So it was kind of hard to keep up because it seems like every time I was caught up, it was like, oh well, it's raining. Oh no, it's raining again. So I mean, if we've learned anything, it's not just go to a NASCAR track that brings Mother Nature to it. It's just host anything at a NASCAR track, and it's going to bring rain. I think that's what we've learned here. But no, I mean that's super cool, right? We love it when worlds collide, whether it's other motorsports or other forms of sports. Obviously, heard a lot of good things from some folks that I know in the NASCAR community that actually went to this game and had a lot of great things to say. And the other thing is too is watching the broadcast, seeing how much that both the NASCAR audience as well as the MLB audience have, really like come together and made it worthwhile, right? They loved that both worlds were colliding and getting to, get a taste for each side. So I thought that was really cool. And we saw it on TV with Fox, giving NASCAR some love as well. So I'm glad to see that it was a success. And, I hope we get to see it come back. I would love to attend one in person and get to be able to experience it for myself. But super, super cool to have the worlds collide. And I hope we can do more stuff like this in the future, not just with Bristol, but maybe with other racetracks as well.
Yeah, these types of events are so awesome to see. It makes it personable to us, right? When NASCAR gets to be a part of these things. I mean, I know the player intros was awesome. They had like mock pit crews out there. Again, I didn't get to see it live, but I saw some replays of it. Of like the whole thing was NASCAR themed. The jerseys. I think somebody on the Reds was wearing Ricky Bobby Wonder Bread themed catcher's gear, which I thought was pretty hilarious. So the whole thing was awesome. Definitely an awesome event to happen this weekend. Also this weekend, Mason Maggio had a banger tweet on Twitter. Or X. I didn't get the exact screenshot, but I know this was the picture, right? It was about this move by Connor.
It was about this frame,
flipping the bird, which on record, I believe this is about the third different driver that's flipped off Daniel Dye this season. I know at least two of them by name. I think there was one other one. And famously, Austin Hill gave Daniel Dye the bird. I don't know if you saw the photo of Austin Hill at Chicago Street Course when they were going around the loop, literally mid-loop, flipping Daniel Dye the bird. And now here, Connor Zilisch, mid-sideways, giving Daniel Dye the bird. So clearly, the message here is dudes will go to any measure possible to give Daniel Dye the bird during an Xfinity Series race. But yeah, how's it feel to get retweeted by Dale Jr.?
That's pretty cool. Believe it or not, a lot of people didn't catch that. So it was me, and then I'm going to give a shout out to some friends of mine over at Loses Fast Podcast. I feel like we were the only two that actually caught that moment. And we were like, we got to say something about it. So we both kind of collaborated on it. They sent me the screenshot confirming my question to what I originally retweeted. And then I basically just retweeted that and went from there. But no, it was super cool. Dale Jr. retweeted it. Apparently, Stephen Malazzi is here, which that's a little concerning. But what's up, buddy?
Hi, guys. I'm currently drinking a strawberry at the Phillies game. I'm with a very pretty woman named Maggie, and I'm meeting her parents. So it's an important day. That's why I'm not here on the Motor Stardom show. But I wanted to tune in and bless my friend Mason Maggio, tell him how much we love him, proud of his viral tweet. And I sent in some questions just for you, Mr. Maggio. Getting pumped for Daytona. Disastrous week by NASCAR. I'll be sure to rant about it eventually. Iowa Speedway was awesome, but the race car, the next-gen car, sucks miserably and makes me want to jump off the roof. Every single week I watch it. And it's amazing to think that it's made the best drivers in the world forget how to drive every single week. That's it for this week's Motor Startup. No, I'm kidding. That's it for me, though. I'm going back to, what'd you say?
Can we see the field?
The what?
The field. No, I need some live commentary here.
I'm in line for some crab fries right now, but hold on, let me flip this around. Wait, I don't know how. I'm over here. I'm getting some crab fries. There's no room. That's how I found the time to talk to you guys and say hello. I did get these sweet pair of Philly sunglasses. And that's all I got. So I love you both. I'll see you guys next week for a great episode of the Motor Stardom Show.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
We'll
sir.
see you next week, Steven. You enjoy that Phillies game. I hope
Go
they
get
win.
him, big dog.
Go get him.
I will. I'll make it up to you guys by showing you my man boobs on stream next week.
All right. Thank
Love
you,
you
Steven.
both.
All right. Oh, gosh. Now Mason's huge. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. But I guess going back to the topic,
as you were saying.
Yeah. No, it's super cool. Saw that Connor liked it, and really didn't expect it to blow up as much as it did. I just made a tweet because I was like, I'm surprised nobody's talking about this, and me and Luce's Fast podcast just put it out there, so it was really cool. Found out today, actually, funny enough, that we were mentioned on Kevin Harvick's podcast on Fox Sports. So they did mention me, which was pretty cool. Showed the tweet and everything, as well as Luce's Fast podcast with the clip of Connor flipping Daniel the Bird. So
Nice.
really, really cool. Honored to have a hit tweet only for the next one that I put out talking about, I think it was the Cars Tour race this past weekend, only getting 2 likes. So we're back to square one, baby. We'll work our way back up there somehow, some way. But not super cool.
Yeah, that's what we call the algorithm.
Yes, that is the algorithm at its finest. But yeah, but it's cool to see that it reached so many people, and so many people were able to kind of laugh about it, find it funny, and honored to have my first hit tweet and it be recognized by a lot of cool people, to say the least.
Yeah, no, it's an awesome feeling. So hopefully we will have many more of those in the future. Obviously, great cameo there from Stephen Lazzi, who was at a Phillies game. We were just finding out, I guess, with a woman. Well, that's great.
He's got priorities, man. I gotta respect it.
Clearly has some priorities. So I'm sure there'll be a lot to talk about next week. And depending on how that game went, I imagine they're in the middle of the game. I guess what he said he was in the line. Let's check the score here before we move on to the next subject. It is 0-0, bottom of the second. So he wasted no time getting in line for not only a margarita but some grub. Nonetheless, let's move on to some important headlines that have come out not only in the last week, but really last few days here. I kind of want to start off with this one because it's the freshest, probably biggest headline. You don't see many big headlines come out of the Truck Series lately. We know that, especially Nice Motorsports in this 45 car, can't find a damn driver to run with for the entire year. Always something happens, or just any of their trucks, where usually the guy is booted out mid-season because of sponsorship, this, that, blah, blah, blah. In this case, it's a little different. It appears Caden Honeycutt, according to a lot of people around, has inked a deal next year with Toyota, believed to be Tricon. That is what is said, and Nice didn't like that, and they kicked him to the curb for the rest of this year. Now, I think, as we let it set in a little bit more, the way I see it is we don't know exactly every detail, right? We're not Al Nice and we're not Caden Honeycutt. We're never going to know exactly the emotions behind this whole deal. But the way I see it, obviously, maybe kind of like we were discussing yesterday, maybe there was a deal in place next year where he was like, okay, I'd come to Nice. Yeah, I'll stick with you guys next year. You guys gave me a shot. Tricon comes over with an offer. We know they've been fielding, offers for that to fill that 11 truck for a while now, knowing Corey Heim won't be back. And now, they offer Caden Honeycutt the deal, which I think great guy to offer it to, right? 6th in the Truck Series point standings right now for a team where we never really know exactly where they are equipment wise. We know there's certainly teams better than them, but he's certainly made the most of it this year. Gets that offer, and now Al Nice kind of, says, all right, the rest of the year we're going to opt with Bailey Curry, which has been kind of their reserve driver, that guy this year, that'll always be with Nice. I think this has to have been something that's been brewing for weeks, because the way I see it, I guess the Friesen thing kind of just happened. But maybe still the deal was probably brewing with Toyota for weeks, and then to be able to kind of have the opportunity now to still run for a championship and a very strong organization, right? That 52 truck, who obviously won for the first time in a while this year with Stuart Friesen. We're obviously praying for him and his family, hoping he gets better as soon as possible. But now we know Honeycutt's going to be running the rest of the year in that 52. Will be running for Tyler Young this weekend at the Glen. An interesting deal. I'm still trying to put together all the pieces and see kind of, I'm sure we'll learn more things as the year goes on. Maybe we'll talk to Caden here, or somebody will. Hoping it can be us. We'll see. And kind of see what happened here. But nonetheless, and a very interesting development where a lot of people compared it to the Tyler Reddick deal, where Tyler Reddick signed with 2311 and Toyota, and RCR just decided to not run the rest of the contract. Now, that was just for a year. It wasn't mid-season, right, in the middle of a championship battle. I think that's what confuses a lot of people here is like, you're sixth in points, you have an opportunity to chase a title here that, you obviously barely missed with Ross Chastain. You barely missed with Carson Hocevar. Now Caden Honeycutt's in the mix to win a title, and you did just throw it away, basically, your chances at a title to get him out of the ride now. Very interesting. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. I've rambled enough because I'm still a little bit confused.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a lot to unpack, right? There's no way to kind of beat around the bush, right? It's pretty much just, hey, now we got to piece together the rest of the season. I mean, to me, this reminds me a lot of like a Matt Benedetto Rackley War situation, or even I say go as far as back as like a 2011 Reed Sorensen, Turner Scott Motorsports situation, or H Scott Motorsports, one of the two. I always get them confused, but kind of a similar deal where it's like now these guys are having to piece together the rest of their season. They're in a championship hunt, but obviously whatever happened between Nice Motorsports and Caden, obviously there's a lot to unpack, right? There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. And honestly, I don't, if the rumors are true of Caden going to Tricon, I mean, can you really blame him? Tricon is becoming really the powerhouse stable of the truck series. I mean, that is the new KBM that's just, kicking butt and taking names right now. Nice, obviously, very solid organization, has won races and has proven to be competitive when they got the right guy and the right opportunity at bay. But I mean, if you're Caden, right, and I'm saying this from a driver's perspective as well, as if there's any opportunity for you to be any more competitive or put yourself in an even better spot, you're going to find a way to make it happen, right? And I think that goes for anything, even outside of racing. You want to put yourself in a better situation. I don't know if there was a contract extension in place for Caden at Nice. I did hear some rumors about that, and that kind of broke through. But, I mean, to do it this soon in the season still, when you still got an opportunity to chase a championship with Nice, definitely shocking. No question about it. You would think Nice would want to try to, put themselves in a position to really go after a championship again once. But business is business at the end of the day. Nice Motorsports felt like it was appropriate to cut ties and allow them to maybe put their foot in the door towards whatever the next driver or the next opportunity is for 2026 and almost get a bit of a head start per se. And then, Caden's kind of in the same boat with that exact deal. But, it's tough, right? You never want to lose your job halfway through the season or step on anybody's toes, right? But obviously this is a case where that happened and, both parties agreed to part ways. But, Nice is a solid organization. They're gonna put themselves in a similar spot here moving forward. They usually do, and finding what is their guy, right? And I think Bailey is a great fit for that to carry the torch and be able to put themselves in a position to still be competitive and still put some things together. So I'm wishing Bailey nothing but the best as they move forward with that. Obviously, Connor Zilich as well, getting in that truck this weekend at Watkins Glen. So, they'll be able to kind of get a read on where their equipment's going to be at for next year as well. And then at the same time, I wish Caden the best in whatever his future endeavors are. At the moment, it's all just rumors, but till it comes about, obviously there's a reason why this happened. So there's no secret to that. But sometimes it's just best to cut ties early on than let it linger and, potentially hurt a relationship or something along those lines. Because the other thing is too is people believe that, yeah, if you're going in a different direction, they're not going to put in the same effort, into you, or you're not going to put the same effort back into the team. So there's that speculation as well, right? I think we all are guilty of that if we know we're going to go a different direction. But it's just, unfortunately, that's just our business, right? That's the sport that we live in, where it's going to be competitive all the way around, from the on track to the business side. But hopefully, both parties will be able to land themselves in good places and be able to continue building for 2026.
Yeah, I mean, if like you said, I mean, to start it off, like you get an offer from Tricon, and when you get an offer from Tricon, you're basically getting an offer from Toyota. You're in the Toyota pipeline, and many would say, being in that Toyota pipeline is certainly a very, not a guaranteed opportunity, but your eyes are seeing through the pipeline. When you get this opportunity, obviously, when signing with Nice or some of those other teams, and even if you're with Thor Sport in the truck series, it's kind of like, okay, I'm here, but where do I go from here? If you're with Toyota and Tricon, you kind of know where your next levels are, as long as you perform and as long as you have the funding to back you. So I think we've seen so much more. I mean, obviously, I don't know exactly how things were from an insider perspective, 10, 15 years ago, but I feel like now, at least compared to, 5, 10 years ago, we're seeing a lot of moving around manufacturers with these young drivers. And I think it's kind of come with how hard it is to get in the Cup nowadays, right? It's a very hard path to get into Cup, because you either got to have a lot of money, or you got to really just be on the right pipeline and find the right opportunity where you're on a team or manufacturer, and the spot above you, just happens to open up. So we've seen people, I mean, already, like Christian, I mean, not Christian Eckes. Who am I thinking of? Who the hell am I thinking of? Oh, Chandler Smith. Sorry. I don't know why I was drawing a blank there, but Chandler Smith's already changed manufacturers multiple times, right? He's gone back and forth. We've seen Sam Mayer now make the move from Junior Motorsports, right? When you're at Junior Motorsports, your goal is Hendrick Motorsports. The only reason he's going to move away to another team is because he's probably not getting a Hendrick Motorsports ride in the next few years. He moves over to Ford. We've seen all these drivers switch places. Riley Herbst move back and forth between manufacturers. And so now that has kind of been a thing, it's like, Caden Honeycutt now is going to go to Toyota. Hopefully his goal is to move up to a Gibbs Xfinity ride. I mean, I'd say certainly from a driving style perspective and a talent perspective, he is certainly capable of being in a Joe Gibbs Racing Xfinity ride. But then where do you go from there, right? Those drivers are going to keep signing these 1-year deals, or even if they sign a 2-year deal, but 1-year deal, to see where they can gain leverage next. So it's certainly like no deal is like for certain, I feel like, nowadays. And as well as, I mean, we'll talk about, I'm sure we'll note on the show here later, those deals of the Cup Series, where people are getting booted out mid-season, like Corey LaJoie. I don't think it'll happen this year, right? But we know, we've already talked about on the show, the Spire 7 car is possibly up for grabs next year. Is Justin Haley going to last the entire season if they decide that in the playoffs? We don't know. So ride security is just all over the place. You never know nowadays. I mean, this deal came out of left field. 3 days ago, I would have thought Caden Honeycutt was fighting for a title with Nice Motorsports, and now he's finishing the year with Halmar Friesen, signing with Toyota next year, and Nice is running Bailey Curry the rest of the year. So these things just they can change in an instant. That's for sure. We knew the more underfunded teams were always subject to moving things around, but now it's like these bigger teams. Stuff is just all over the place lately. And it makes for, sometimes you go into silly season, you're like, oh, maybe there's not a bunch that's going to happen. And then some weird stuff happens like this, and you're like, oh, okay, this kind of changes the whole complexion of, what this series and certain teams could look like.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this is a performance-based business, right? And you're trying to go for the best performance possible. That's the teams looking for as good of a driver as they can find with the proper funding and the proper resources behind them. And then the driver's looking for that same thing. Is this going to be the best opportunity that's going to allow me to excel and get me where I want to go in my career? Like, nobody wants to settle at the end of the day. And then So we're always trying to go for the best opportunity. And then we talked about it a couple episodes back. A lot of guys are wanting to try to find that 5-year plan that's going to get them in the cup, right? Nobody wants to stay in Xfinity and trucks forever. We're all, at the end of the day, we're here to compete with the best stock car drivers in the world, and that's the Cup Series on Sundays. And like we've said, that's another problem is there's not a lot available. And then when there is something that could potentially be available, we see guys jump manufacturers, jump teams that could potentially have that pipeline in the Cup. But I feel like you brought him up, like Chandler Smith is a prime example. Chandler Smith is like ever so close to getting the Cup. But the problem is there's no direct pipeline and there's no direct spot for him to go, right? I mean, he's done a couple races here and there with a colleague. Obviously, attempted to qualify Carl Long's car into the Daytona 500 at the beginning of this year, but it's not the right situations to where they can do that at a full-time level, right? And there's a ton of other guys that are in that same exact spot. So a lot of it's performance. You want to be able to excel and show what you can do at the lower levels to hopefully get that call to go run in the Cup Series. But at the same time, it's hard to even know where that Cup opportunity is going to be because spots are so limited. And a lot of the guys that we see at the Cup level have been around for years and years already. And it doesn't seem like that's going to really change too dramatically over the next couple of years.
Yeah, and even with that, there's still a lot of guys that do still have that ride security that maybe have not been performing as well. Obviously, I mean, we had a whole episode on it right a few weeks back. But, we already talked about guys like Justin Haley, who possibly be replaced next year. We talked about Riley Herbst, who, is contracted for next year, and the belief is he'll be back. But, again, as we've seen with these past deals and contracts, obviously takes a lot of, navigating, but they can be avoided. And really the question here is also what happens to Corey Heim next year. We know he's not going to be back at trial, but now it's kind of public knowledge. It's fully out there. People starting to set in, as people see what rides are open, and the fact that he probably won't be at Joe Gibbs, right? Not a factor for a Joe Gibbs Racing Xfinity car unless things change. It's just an unfortunate reality. What is next for him? I mean, me as a person, and everybody advocating for Corey Heim as a talent and what he's done and so far in the Truck Series and limited Xfinity starts, it's like, man, if you have the opportunity to, go Cup racing with another organization that is good, do you take it, or do you really, really wait out the Toyota pipeline? Because, I mean, to me, it's like he is a 2311 driver and 2311 has invested in him. Are they saying, you know what, we're going to run out this Riley Herbst contract next year, get yourself on a Corey Day type of schedule, we'll run you a bunch of, Cup races, Xfinity races, truck races, all part-time, and then we'll get you in the car next year after we obligate Riley Herbst's, contract. To me, obviously, they signed that 2-year deal, so maybe they just don't want to do that. They're going through enough legal stuff, so they're probably just saying, you know what, we're just going to keep the 35 how it is and not do anything else. But, and Corey Heim's got to wonder, would it be worth it if I got a job offer from RFK the next year? Would it be worth it to toss all this Toyota stuff to the side that I've come up with, my whole career basically through TRD, all the support, everything like that, all the guarantees? Do I throw that away to go take a ride at RFK? Does he get loaned to Legacy Motor Club? We don't know what they're going to look like next year. There's a lot of unknowns. We both know Corey Heim is very talented, one of the top prospects we have right next to, or right around at least, Connor Zilich, and some others as well. But I don't know. I'm stumped. I hope he finds something. I would love to see him race for a championship next year. But if he does decide to stick with Toyota 2311, be their reserve guy and have I say Corey Day is not getting Cup races, but Corey Day kind of schedule with Cup races in there. Is that something, Well, if you're Corey Heim, Mason Maggio, what are you doing?
It's a tough deal, right? I mean, obviously Toyota has put in a lot of time, money, and resources into Corey, and obviously it's paid off, right? I mean, he's winning races left and right. It's always a contender, no matter what he's in, right? Whether he's going truck racing with Tricon or even popping in that Sam Hunt car here and there, he's usually very, very fast. And then in the Cup car, he's been pretty solid, compared to some of the other guys that have been jumping in a Cup car here and there with an affiliated big team. I think he's obviously the best, right? So, it's tough to say, right? If I'm Corey, I'm ready to move on to the next level, whether that is Xfinity or Cup. I could see him 100% landing over at a Sam Hunt. I feel like that's a good opportunity, and obviously with 2311 giving him the resources right now, even with Sam's organization, I think that's 100% in the cards, and I think that can make Sam Hunt more competitive as well. But I mean, it's tough to say, right? Obviously, everybody in the industry knows Corey Heim is going to be in Cup at some point. He's just that good, right? But if I'm Corey, how long do you want to wait before you get that opportunity? Because you never know. And you talk about even just playing a reserve driver role. Well, then that's the other tough part is you can't count on somebody getting hurt or sick or whatever to give you that shot in the car, right? You can't just sit there and wait around. Something that I actually had a conversation about with somebody, because they've told me the same thing. They're like, why don't you, try to go find a bigger opportunity, maybe run less races with the team? And it's like, I would love to go with a bigger team, right? But obviously that costs money. And then two, the other thing is the more you're at the racetrack in some sort of race car, the more your name's going to be tossed around. If you're not at the racetrack very often, your name's not going to be out there. They're going to call the next guy, right? So that's the other thing is you got to be able to be at the racetrack enough and show what you can do in order for people to make calls or want to make things happen. So I don't see Corey going in that reserve driver role, at least like backing off on everything else and banking on that. I see him 100% taking that, but he's got to be doing something in between. I just don't see him sitting back on the couch, looking at his watch, waiting for the time to start happening, with a Cup opportunity or with an Xfinity opportunity. And whether it's with Toyota or potentially another manufacturer or somebody else picks him up, I don't know, right? But it's been made very clear that, hey, Heim's not going truck racing next year, at least on a full-time basis. So where does he go? And I think that's the question mark that a lot of people have been asking over the past 2-3 months. And that's a big part of it, right? Is you got to be able to see what's even out there in the first place that's going to allow him to be as competitive as he can be. So we'll see. Time will tell, right? There's no clear path, I don't think, for Corey, but I definitely think there's something's going to arise that's going to allow him to get to where he wants to be.
Yeah, 1,000%. And we certainly hope so because he's talent that the sport needs. And we talk about him. We talk about Connor Zilich as well, obviously projected to go to Trackhouse. He'll be racing a lot this weekend at Watkins Glen, pulling the triple duty because, as you noted, he will be filling in for Nice Motorsports. He'll be doing his full-time gig for Junior Motorsports and the Xfinity Series. And then over there in the Cup Series, he'll be running that 87, a start that was added on kind of mid this year at Watkins Glen. So I think that's going to be fun to watch. Obviously, you get 3 races under your belt, 3 totally different vehicles. Obviously, you've driven 2 of them. You know how different the truck and Xfinity car is from each other, and we know how different the Cup car is from each other. What do we say? What do you think is a realistic prediction? You think three top 10s? I know in the Cup Series he's ran the one road course race so far. I believe just the Circuit of the Americas. No, did he run Mexico or Chicago? I forget. I don't think he did he?
No, I don't think he did. But
he's just run over.
Yeah, it was definitely Coda in Chicago, I believe. So
did well, had a good practice speed. I know the race just didn't totally work out for them, but maybe three top 50. I mean, I know in Truck Series and Xfinity Series, I'm thinking guaranteed top 10. Easy work.
100%.
We know he was really great in the truck. And then the Cup Series is going to be a whole different beast. But if he can nail off 3 top 10s in 3 different vehicles in the weekend, like does that solidify him as like the top prospect in NASCAR?
I think so. I think people have already thought that, right? I mean, it's been made very clear with what he's been able to do early on. And obviously this year too. I mean, not saying that I didn't think he was going to be successful this year, but he's overachieved his expectations and then some. We knew he was going to be competitive on road courses, but it was like, all right, how is that going to translate to the ovals, like the mile and a halves specifically? And he's proven to all of us that, hey, nothing's changed. He's going to get in the car and he's going to be equally as competitive. So I think it's possible for him to win the truck race. I think it's possible for him to win the Xfinity race 100% on Xfinity. I think he's going to win. That would be, if I was a betting man, that would be my pick for Xfinity. But as far as Cup goes, I'm curious to see what that could be. I think a top 15 for sure is in the cards for him. But Cup on a road course, man, it's such a toss up. You never know what you're going to get, right? Between strategy on pit road and then the craziness that NASCAR race starts provide. I think Connors is going to be very competitive in the truck and Xfinity race. I think that'd be a good pick to win for those two. But for Cup, I see a top 15, and who knows? I think he could very well crack the top 10. But if I had to guess, I'd say top 15, top 20 finish for sure in Cup.
1,000%. You talk about the unpredictability in the Cup Series. I want to take us back to this awesome finish last year. We talked about the bad moments in the next gen era, but this is certainly one of the greater ones. Watkins Glen has provided us some awesome finishes. Shout out Lee Diffie on commentary. I saw somebody was hating on him on Twitter. I forgot his name, but probably reasonably so. SVG pull out. I think one of the most underrated parts about this finish is coming off this corner right here. Obviously, SVG's digging. He wants this victory. We know how hard it is to save a next-gen car. Look at how side first there, and then there, he's literally drifting into the corner. Saved it. Kept it because, saving it, that's the difference between second place and, wherever he would have finished if he would have spun that car out. But absolutely unbelievable finish there at Watkins Glen last year. And you think about SVG, obviously, who's already won so many road course races this year. Just think about Chris Buescher, who hasn't won that race this year. RFK is in just such a big debacle at that cut line right now because you had Brad Keselowski, who thought that Iowa was his day again. Unfortunately, didn't come up with it. But you have Chris Buescher's plus 23 on the cut line. Ryan Preece is below 23 on the cut line. I know Chris Buescher does not feel safe in that spot because the next guy above him is 40 points above. And then the next guy above that is Tyler Reddick, who's like freaking 60 points above Alex Bowman, 59 to be exact. So it's really, I feel like Chris Buescher feels like he's got to win, and going into Watkins Glen, this is a place where he's been good. I know he was good at Sonoma as well, had speed. RFK clearly has had a lot of speed lately. Brad Keselowski's had a resurgence. Ryan Preece has just been very consistent this year. I would love to see him make the playoffs. I'd love to see him win a race. But Chris Buescher, again, he missed out on the playoffs last year, won that race in the playoffs. I think he's got to be looking at this race as like must win, or at least must have a really, really good day. Top 5.
100%. Obviously the pressure's starting to dwindle down as we're getting closer to, seeing who's going to be in the round of 16, right? So, you mentioned RFK. They've just been so close so many times. Brad's been close on a couple of occasions. Chris has been close on a couple of occasions. Ryan in particular, I feel like, has been very quietly consistent, as I like to call it. Where it's not very highlighted, but you see it after a while of like, oh wow, Ryan Preece has had X number of top 10s, a couple top 5s here, but I think the pressure is going to really set in for those RFK cars. I think it would honestly be a shame, right, if we saw none of the RFK cars make the playoffs. But it's tight, man. There's a lot of, I looked at it, there's a lot of winners this year than we've had in the past. It's close. It's going to be really, really, really close. If you win, that's going to relieve a lot of stress. I think it'd be very, very hard to point your way in at this point. So a win has got to be like the biggest way to do it. There's no other way to do it. You can't really point your way in at this rate. So definitely a win, I think, for Chris Buescher, Watkins Glen. I think that's going to be a big one, right? But obviously, we got a couple of we got Daytona coming up, which that's going to be unpredictable. I feel like the RFK cars have also been very strong at the plate tracks, so that could be another potential one. But I mean, we'll see. It's hard to say now, but the pressure's definitely setting in for those RFK cars.
Yeah, 1,000%. And I look at guys that are below him on the cut line, like guys placed 19th and 20th, and that's Ty Gibbs in 19th. That car and that team has been a lot faster lately, and he's been really good on the road courses. Obviously, was SVG's biggest threat at Mexico City. Is he able to kind of be that threat again at Watkins Glen, a place he's been good at in the Xfinity Series in the past as well? And then somebody we know who has kind of drifted off a little bit is our favorite, as we've had our new toy to play with in SVG, but AJ Allmendinger, a guy who's won at Watkins Glen before. We know he's going to be very fast there. It's kind of as we've had all these new road courses in NASCAR, this is a track where I'm sure he knows this can be his wheelhouse. And I feel like he sees this as his opportunity, right? Another guy who has put together a solid season, not a bad season by any means, 18th in overall point standings for Colleague Racing, which is still kind of an organization that we don't really know exactly where they're at, Cup and Xfinity wise. So to be able to go in there, be 18th in the point standings, I think is really cool. And also big shout out, as I'm looking at the driver standings here, to Brad Keselowski, who is 19th in the point standings. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know how many weeks ago we could date back, but he was below 30th in the standings.
Yeah.
Like not too long ago. And to be up 19th now in the point standings, a top 20, but like this was shaping up to be like one of the worst Brad Keselowski seasons ever, like this first half of the year. Like it was just abysmal. And they have been on such a tear that they are now 19th in the standings. Now, I got to be honest, these 19th to, 20 to mid 20s is like very close in the standings. It's been a really tight battle between everybody. We talk about the parity of the series, how competitive it is, right? A guy that I thought was going to have a somewhat of a breakout year, Todd Gilliland, has been a no-show this year. He's in 30th place. Daniel Suarez is in 31st. But definitely a big shout out to Brad K. I didn't even know that, honestly. That just struck my head that he is 19th in the point standings. That's why I had to mention that. Like that was just intrusive thoughts coming out. But anyways, back to AJ Allmendinger. I certainly think he is one to watch come Watkins Glen. Is there anybody else below the cut line that you see as a guy that's like a threat to potentially win? Maybe even a Carson Kosovar who's been solid on the road course lately. Michael McDowell's doing double duty.
I think Michael McDowell honestly has been pretty strong this year. I got to give him some credit. I would have thought the change would have been a little bit more of a kind of like a building process, right? New team, new people. Everybody's trying to mesh and build chemistry, build cars to everybody's liking, right? But he's done a pretty solid job. I would not be surprised if we saw Michael be pretty competitive at Watkins Glen, both in the Xfinity car as well as the Cup car. But I mean, it's crazy, right? I don't see somebody like Suarez jumping out of there unless strategy or something like that comes into play. He's not a bad road course racer, but he's never been somebody that I've really kept my eye on. But you mentioned it, like AJ, that's his wheelhouse, right? You don't get your first Cup win there and forget how to drive, right? Like he's been competitive every time we go there, whether that's with a smaller team in the Cup Series or doing what he's done in Xfinity, winning a couple races there in years past. So you got to put AJ at least in the conversation for guys that are kind of somewhat out of the picture that could change that. It's hard to say, right? But I think there's a couple good names there that could definitely shake it up. And if that does happen, I mean, it would be a nightmare for those guys from the outside looking in, trying to see where they stand by the time we get to the playoff races.
Yeah, an absolute nightmare for RFK, as you noted at the beginning. Like literally, you got right now one car that probably has a guarantee of making it in. Obviously, hypothetically, they could just go on a tear and all three of them win 3 separate races, but we know that is potentially unlikely, but nothing is certainly not certain in this next gen car. But certainly going to be a fun race at Watkins Glen. Obviously, we are really winding down the playoffs here. You talk about Daytona, which obviously we finished the regular season at. Very looking forward to that. But we go Watkins Glen. We get a night race at Richmond for the Cup Series, and then another night race at Daytona. So this is our last Sunday race of the regular season. Taking place at 2:00 on USA. Then it's 7:30 the next week on USA at Richmond, and then 7:30 at Daytona, baby. We're getting closer and closer to Daytona, which is really exciting. I know it's really exciting for you going to be behind the wheel. Obviously, at a place like Daytona is a place where you can make anything happen. And being at Daytona just kind of spells home for me, and maybe somewhat of a home for you, I'm sure, going there a lot of years, as I believe you are. It looks you are in Florida right now, down at home,
still in Florida,
where it is a ripe, 88 degrees right now, but damn, that sun is hot. I don't know what the average temp has been down over east of where I'm at, but
it was like a whopping 98 at one point during the day. I was literally breaking a sweat getting out of my car just to go to the coffee shop, walk across the parking lot and go to the coffee shop. I was like, damn, like we gotta get a break at some point from this heat. It's insane. But no, Daytona's special, obviously, to a lot of people, right, including myself. That's the race that I went to a lot, same as Homestead, but Daytona, it's just got that significance to it, man. There's nothing that beats it. The history behind it is incredible. There's nothing like Daytona. So we're super excited for that here in the next couple of weeks to go back there, and hopefully we'll have some cool stuff to announce there for sure.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be a big week no matter what. I know, hopefully we're going to be having some awesome stuff going on with Motor Stardom with the brand. We've been looking forward to this weekend for a while. Obviously, me personally, being in Daytona for February was an awesome weekend for the brand. Had some great content all across, especially on the Instagram, and it was the birthplace in the Truck Series garage of the Motor Stardom show after the Truck Series race on Friday night after Mason Maggio finished top 15 in that Truck Series race. So now you return to a place where you got a top 15 at, kept it clean. We know how chaotic that Truck Series race is, and we know how chaotic the Xfinity race can be. So it's going to be a lot of fun either way. This weekend at Watkins Glen, I just have to play this clip again. We get the return. I was going to announce it while we were talking about Watkins Glen. We get the return of Austin Hill, who gets to come back after this move. And I haven't watched this clip in a few days. Crazy that after this, this like ending right here. I don't even think I got to describe it last week. I was watching this race with some of my buddies from out of town, from Pennsylvania, and like this save completed, and I was like getting ready to turn over and be like, that was like one of the sickest saves I've ever seen. Like everybody was blown away, absolute insanity. And then before I could even say anything, it just beelines left, which to be honest is probably what they wanted to see most, was absolute destruction, because a lot of people that don't tune in to NASCAR often, they can see the save. Yeah, it's cool, but getting to see somebody right hook somebody to the fence is much cooler. So I'm interested to see the press this weekend. Obviously, a lot of the drivers, they sit down with media before the race. They have bullpens. I'm sure somebody will find a time to get a word with Austin Hill and see what he says. I wonder if you think he'll be apologetic at all, or you think he's going to be like, nah, he deserved it. Yeah,
if he's smart, he will probably not say anything at all. He'll probably give the Kyle Busch of Phoenix 2017 treatment. Everything's great. Looking forward to getting back in my car and being here at Watkins Glen. I think that's what's going to happen. There's been so much that's happened in the last 2 weeks with Austin Hill, and there's been a lot of conversations about him and what it's going to look like. Is there going to be a change? Was the suspension going to be enough to get him to maybe clean up some things? We don't know. We could be back to square one and have the same old Austin Hill. But I just hope that the press doesn't get Austin Hill at RCR and then Austin Hill at Joey Gates Motorsports confused this weekend. So that should be interesting for for some of the people. We got 2 Austin Hills, so we got to keep track of both of them. But no, I mean, in all seriousness, it's going to be tough, right? It's you you can't change. It's hard to get people to change, right? And unless something happens, maybe that's a little bit more drastic, or maybe he takes that time to reflect. I don't know. Well, that's for Austin Hill to decide at the end of the day. He's his own man. He's gonna figure out if hey, maybe I gotta look in the mirror and figure out what I'm doing wrong. Or he might say, hey man, I didn't do nothing wrong. I'm gonna stand my ground, and whether you like my answer or not, I don't care. I'm gonna keep going racing and doing what I'm gonna do. So that's for Austin Hill to decide, and then the media can make whatever they're gonna make out of it.
Yeah, exactly. 1000%. And yes, like you mentioned, we have 2 Austin Hills racing this weekend. Don't get confused, guys. Joey Gase is not the bad guy in this situation. I'm sure other Austin Hill is a great lad and will not be right rear hooking anybody this weekend at Watkins Glen. So I'm looking forward to it. Watkins Glen weekend. Like I said, we got Richmond after that, and then Daytona. We got NASCAR game being developed coming out soon. Didn't include Mason Magoo. It's very upsetting, or at least at this moment. I don't know. It's stuff's, they had some teams coming out announcing like, hey, well, it wasn't
TBD,
on the list. Guys will
TBD.
be in the game, So, but I heard the paint booth is free will. So if Mason Maggio is not in the game, we will be creating Mason Maggio.
Yes.
And then driving as Mason Maggio to an Xfinity Series championship, 1000%. So certainly looking forward to that. I actually have a lot of preparation to do if I'm going to do that. I have to start by getting a next-gen console, I've heard. Won't be released on the old gen. I've been playing an Xbox One for a long time. So yeah, Xbox One and PS4 over here, just as not playing them as much hasn't warranted me into getting a next-gen console, but as a man that has every NASCAR game known to man, even NASCAR Ignition, I'm going to have to get that next-gen console so I can get NASCAR 25 because it looks like it's going to be revolutionary. And hopefully, as we talked about last week, bring some new fans in as well. People love video games, and I think there were people that probably weren't even big NASCAR lovers, but loved playing NASCAR Thunder 2004, NASCAR 09, Total Team Control, even NASCAR 15. Hopefully NASCAR 25 will provide that same amount of love as those games did in the past. Will you be buying the game? Do you have next gen console? What do you be playing, man? What do you got? PC?
I've been on PC lately, man. So yeah, man. I got a Xbox 360 right in the corner over there for nostalgia reasons. I've got an Xbox One back up in North Carolina that I haven't fired up in a while. I probably should fire it up at some point and play on it sometime. But I've really turned over to PC. I do a lot of my work on there, and then on top of that, I feel like a lot of people are turning over to PC lately, man. So I've been playing that with my buddies, get a little bit of everything, right? With games, there's no restrictions. So I've been a big PC guy for the last couple of years, but who knows? Maybe I got to fire up the old Xbox just for a hit of nostalgia.
Yeah, PC's been nice. That's what operates this whole thing. I've had this PC for over 5 years now. It's got me through a lot of work, Zoom calls, media calls, shows, and stuff like that. So it's done me well. I haven't really played too many games on here, but always have. I got Steam. I've got some stuff installed on there. But I do have iRacing on here as well, which I almost forgot to mention tonight. The Venom Truck Series kicks off their season at Daytona. I will be entering. Haven't done iRacing, I think, since the time that we did the show about the iRace. Haven't fired it up, so I think my wheel still works. It's under my feet, but I will be competing at Daytona tonight. I will be going checkers or wreckers. I love the ends of the races. I don't know how many laps tonight is. I'm kind of scared it's going to be in the triple. I don't think it's going to be in the triple digits.
No.
It better not be more than 70 because this seat isn't comfortable enough to sit here for 70 laps after I just did an hour show. But I play the back marker strategy. I just sit in the back. I chill in the draft a little bit. I wait until about 20 to go, see how the race goes. Try not to. I hope that we don't have green flag pit stops because I don't do pit stops on iRacing, and that's usually what messes me up. So I'm hoping tonight we have some cautions where I don't have to pit under green. But hoping I'll be there at the end and can win the show tonight, can win the race tonight in the Motor Stardom truck, in the Venom Truck Series. We can take one home and start our Daytona weekend off strong. Pop some bottles, as in Zephyr Hills water. Shout out Florida.
Stay hydrated, kids.
Oh, you got the Gatorade. I've never tried the Gatorade water.
Propel, baby. Yeah, no, it's good. I got grape flavor.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's pretty good. My parents keep this stuff stocked up, so I always gotta chug it down. But I gotta stay hydrated. Gotta get those electrolytes too. So got it all in one right there.
Yes. And now I didn't get Steven's question. Steven's question was, how do you stay so attractive or something like that, I believe. But our writer Chris Collins sent in a question presented by Densey. And I think this one's interesting, and this is what we can cap off the show with here. And he says, what can drivers and slower equipment do to demonstrate this ability? And this kind of goes hand in hand with what we were talking about before, when you're talking about not taking those deals where you're showing up 1 or 2 times to race for a better team. You're more so showing up you want to show up to the track more and more every week for those smaller teams to get your name out there, to get those laps in. What can drivers do, in those equipment to, as Chris Collins says, demonstrate their ability as a driver?
Yeah, and I guess to kind of go back on that question, funny enough, I was thinking about it a lot. I was like, I probably didn't answer that right. Not saying I wouldn't turn away an opportunity, right? That's not what I'm trying to say. I guess for me, it's tough because it's like, for a small-time guy like me, I don't have a whole lot of sponsorship that can pay the proper amount that these bigger teams are asking for, right? It's a huge price difference. I won't get into specific numbers, but the bottom line is like, do you risk, a 1 to 2 race deal and go be competitive as possible and see if you land somewhere, if you're good enough or not afterwards? There's no guarantee after that. And then that's the rest of your season because you banked on 2 races and hope that they paid off? Or do you say, hey, I want to try to run, 10 races that I could do with that same budget and go run for a smaller team and be behind the wheel on a fairly consistent basis? So it's a tough stretch, right? But I'm not saying I wouldn't turn away an opportunity to be more competitive. It's just, it's a damn if you do, damn if you don't, right? So I guess it's just a matter of, how it turns out to be. But if the opportunity is presented, I would love to absolutely take advantage of it. But I guess to answer Chris's question, the situation that guys like myself are in is, all right, you're in a little bit underfunded equipment. You're not going to be running up in the top 10, top 15, not even the top 20 on a regular basis, right? Top 20, anywhere from around 25th to 28th is usually a pretty good day for the equipment that I'm in on pace alone, right? So, like making the show is a huge factor in it. I feel like that's what's gotten me a lot more calls to go drive race cars, is knowing that I can make the show and get cars in on speed if we're in a go or go home type situation. And then on top of that, just bringing the car home clean, right? That's a huge factor of it. A lot of teams at my level don't have enough cars, enough inventory to do that. So, now that, bringing cars home clean is a big factor in it, and just making the most out of the opportunity, right? You want to be, not saying underfunded equipment, you just go ride around and hope for the best, but you get in the equipment and you try to get every little bit out of it that you can. And I feel like I've done a pretty respectful job of that over the last 2 years in particular. Obviously this year I've got an opportunity to do that on a fairly consistent basis with Joey Gase Motorsports, which I'm thankful for that opportunity. And I feel like I've done a pretty respectful job of doing a lot of things that I've mentioned. So, and that's gotten me more calls to go drive for other teams or other opportunities. It's part of the reason why I got, the call earlier on this year to do that late model race with Rick Ware, because he was paying attention to that stuff. And then, it's also gotten me the opportunity to go run for guys like Carl Long and Joey. That was another reason. Was the biggest reason why Joey would call me was because he saw what I was doing in the 21 truck with Floridian Motorsports and Scott Osteen, and obviously Scott's now partnered with Joey, and said, "Hey, that brings value to me, and teams like Joey." So, I feel like that's a big part of it, is doing a lot of the things that I said. And I feel like if you do those, you get more calls and more opportunities to go drive race cars and not have to bring an insane amount of money to the table. But and I feel like it helps too, because I've talked with bigger teams and they've all said, yeah, we've paid attention and we see what you're doing in those smaller teams. And that speaks volumes, right? So there are a lot of people that are going to be watching, and that's going to be important, is how you represent yourself, checking off those 3 big bucket list items when you go to the racetrack with those types of teams, and it's going to get you more opportunities. Whether they come through or not, I don't know, but it's at least a good way to get your name out there and gain some respect in the garage.
Yeah, 1,000%. That's the wise words of Mason from driving from those types of teams, and you certainly do a great job in doing what you do, and obviously that will now carry over into Daytona, where anything can happen. And hey, man, you could end up with the top 15 by the end of the night and make it even more of a fun weekend than it already will be. So 3 races left until the playoffs, as we've noted. Next week at Tuesday, it'll be the same thing back here, 7 p.m. Eastern, joined by Steven Malazzi, who coming off a Phillies game. Real quick.
That needs a recap of his own.
Oh, yeah. Real quick, Phillies are up 4-0, top of the 5th. So Steven's having a great time. Apparently meeting someone's parents tonight. Going to need some info on that.
Yes.
Next week we'll have a big bombshell guest, we can hope, to drop some awesome stuff on us. So without further ado, considering it is 8:02, that rhymes. I'm RJ Starsvik, hosting the Motor Stardom Show here tonight, every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. We've been doing this since about March or late February of 2025. This is Mason Maggio. He drives in the Xfinity Series occasionally. He'll be racing at Daytona. We all will be at Daytona. Myself, Mason Maggio, and Steven Malazzi has, in fact, booked his flight ticket. He will be there. He has no choice unless he bought a refund policy or something, but he better not, because he's going to be there. Anyways, see you guys next Tuesday. That could be a great episode. It was great talking about the headlines of the sport tonight, recapping some stuff, and answering some fun questions as well. We'll see you guys